Tiger, I wanted to talk about navigating the times that we're in. And of course, I want to talk about this from a spiritual perspective. Are you interested?
Let's do it.
Okay. Right now, we're in some pretty tumultuous times. And of course, I've been around for a while on planet Earth. And I know you have, actually. You're starting to get there. I know you've got some experience.
Yeah, I left my cane at the door, but
Yeah.
normally you see it here.
Yeah. And so lots of stuff's happened over the decades. You know, we've seen a lot. We've lived through a lot. This is one of the more in-your-face challenging times, I guess I've seen in my lifetime. And clearly a pandemic, as it's being called today, is something new. This is not something I've ever really experienced in my lifetime. Protests and things like that have all been part of the fabric of the United States and all that. So, but really, when it comes down to my daily life experience, you know, I'm concerned about building my business, you know, having a nice lifestyle, having good relationships with my family and friends. And in fact, the more mature that I get, or the older that I get, I mean, you know, life is short to not be enthusiastically spiritual about my life and to maintain that enthusiasm. But, you know, this is what I wanted to throw out, maybe solutions for navigating these tough times and helping people have more of that spiritual perspective.
Sure.
Would you like to get started?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, I mean, my thrust is in life is rallying the forces. And part of what that's important to me about and what that is about for me is that I need to always come back to the big picture. And if I don't have that perspective or I don't have that sense, I'm going to get lost in the small picture. So that whole thing that you've probably heard before 100 times, right? We certainly share it. You know, I'm a soul with a physical body. I'm not a physical body with a soul. I'm here to learn and grow, etc. That's one big picture, right? The other big picture is to recognize a little bit what you said, like there's just a tremendous amount of experience I have and a lot of life and things have gone through. I mean, decades, and you know, have the benefit of knowing history, right? That really helps me. But the other thing that always stands out in these moments is I start looking at, well, how many people we got on the planet right now? You know, we got a lot of people on the planet.
Billions.
Yeah. And that's not something we're used to, at least in our history, written history, like that many people, right? So something, for me, something's going on, right? And I'm bringing this all back to kind of that bigger picture. So something's going on that all this energy is here right now. And that's no coincidence for me. So that I'm saying that because, you know, the theme we're talking about here is navigating these times right now. I'm bringing all this up because if I don't come back to my bigger picture, I'm going to jump into something without the benefit of top-down feeling, without that benefit of I'm home wherever I go, right? So I think that's the first thing for me, Tom, is if I'm not coming back home, no matter what's going on, whether it's peacetime, wartime, or something in between, I've already lost the plot. As my sisters and brothers, Australian and New Zealanders say, lost the plot. So I got to come back to that bigger picture. That's number one in navigating it for me.
That's true for me too. And I also work with my guidance to really tune into what do I need to be concerned about and what's my focus. And when I say that, you know, I'm a concerned person. I'm somebody that likes people. I like life. I'm a positive person, typically. If I get a little depressed, I mean, I can't stay there too long. And but I have my ups and downs, but not like you know, some or I might have, you know, a long time ago. One thing that helps me is I get key words from my guidance as to what the focus of my experience is, and then my thrust is to be happy and free. So what that means to me is that as I move through my learning experiences here in the school on planet Earth, with the other several billion souls that are here at this time, you know, my classes all have to do with how to maintain that sense of happiness and freedom, and how to, you know, really attract it more and more in my life. And one of the things that occurs to me, you know, as we chat here, is that a lot of the drama that other people experience is not necessarily the drama I have to experience.
Right.
And I've really come to see that when I've gone through drama, there was this, I kind of attracted it. I set some of that situation up. I mean, even if it's as simple as, you know, I slept too late that morning, so I was a little under pressure getting to work, and then I spilled coffee on myself before the big meeting, and, you know, even little things to big things. Procrastinating on doing my homework when I was in college, and then all of a sudden it's a big deal and a big drama. Or, you know, we can think of plenty of big things to talk about, but I like to kind of bring it back home. And, or not maybe communicating with my wife at the right time, and then she's got a different idea about what's happening, and then I attract a bit of flack, and all of us have done that at one time or another, you know, in communication with our partners or people close to us. So working with my guidance, you know, they can remind me, if I know what my goals are and really meditate on that and what I'm here to work with, my guidance gives me insights, little aha moments, as an old friend of mine used to say. I get them in pictures. My work with the, you know, gift of vision is my first gift, so I tend to think in pictures.
Well, I mean, just to carry on that line, so in navigating where we're at today, I would say there were 3 key things that I would add into the mix, right, just for the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Is number 1, coming back home to the real me, right? Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? I'm a soul. I'm a consciousness. I'm energy. I bring that up as number 1 because I'm going to have, particularly now, I've got all these people running around, even people that are familiar to me, with fear or covered up fears, right? And they do a good job because, you know, they're involved in life and they do try to do the best they can, but let's face it, you still get affected by what's going on, right? So that number 1 thing about I'm energy, that I think is the biggest piece to navigating, because from all fears is born comes from the fear of separation or death. Mm-hmm. So whether I have fear of rejection, fear of getting sick, fear of this, it all comes down to that separation. Right? So if I come back home to who I really am, and you know, I assume you've probably heard that 1,000 times before, like, oh, I'm a soul, you know, I could go on, blah, blah, blah. You know, without that clarity, without that kind of coming back home with where things are at now, it's only a matter of time before I'm going to get sucked into something that's not my business. Right? That's the first one. And I think that's the real important. The other 2 have to do with my balance of thought and feeling, and then working with my gifts well, and encouraging myself to bring out certain ones, like my prophetic part, for instance. But I'd say the first one for me to dig into is just really coming back to that simple fact: I'm here, I have been, and I always will be. Otherwise, I'm going to buy into other people's fears. I'm going to buy into it. I can't go to the store without everybody looking at me if I don't have a mask. Right? If I don't have a mask, they're staring at me, you know, even though the place doesn't require it, you know. I've already had it, so I'm not worried about it. But the point is that if I'm not coming back home to that bigger picture, I'll start feeling that. You know? So if I have that bigger picture, to me, Tom, that's the critical, because then I know what's being, not me, and I can go do what I need to do. But if I forget who I am and what I'm here for, it's only a matter of time. I'm sensitive as I am, I assume you are.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time.
Well, a couple of things that, I get stimulated there as you share is that, I know your first gift is a gift of intuition. So if you've got the facts, if you've got that understanding of what's you and what's not you, then, and my intuitive part, when I have that understanding of what I need to be involved with, when I need to be there, where I need to be involved and why, then life's a lot smoother and I don't get caught up in others' dramas so much. And I'm a very practical guy, so if, for example, if they suggest social distancing and wearing a mask, I'll do that. I can play the game. I have my thoughts about that, and but I make the choice that I'd rather not get it, so I'd rather feel good and make sure my immunity's up and take steps like that. But the other thing that really occurs to me is there's this word, spiritualism out there, and we work a lot with the spiritual. And what I hear you saying is, if I come back to the reality that I'm a soul, I am now, I always have been, and I always will be, that's a bigger picture over the time frame of my existence. And life is like the blinking of an eye in the time span of eternity. So as one gets a bit older and more experienced like myself, it's amazing how that seems a lot truer, that life goes by pretty fast, and time goes by pretty fast. So what I wanted to say, though, was that rather than making spiritual things a way of worship or a way of thinking, I more like I like make it a way of life.
Right.
So I do have some routines, they might have been referred to as rituals in the past, but when I get up, I have a cleansing technique that I work with, so I'm more aware of what energy's coming in or what thoughts and feelings are me or not me. And I get a key word, I spend a few moments with my guidance and tuning into, really where's the thrust of my activity and what's kind of coming up. And because I've made them aware of what my goals are and they give me suggestions. I mean, all this happens very quickly. It's within minutes I've got this, done. I'm lucky I live with my partner, Teresa, is also interested in this sort of thing. So when I share with her, she understands what I'm talking about. Right. Her gift's the gift of intuition. But just being with a spiritual partner or somebody who has those beliefs doesn't make it like my relationship absolutely, there's still some ups and downs.
Sure,
I mean, there's still things that we learn and grow from each other. So it's more my approach to life. So that's what I hear you saying. It's like, for me, it's how am I approaching my life? Because if I'm thinking about being spiritual and I go, well, yes, and there's, I'm a soul, but if I'm not making it practical, it's not, who cares?
Well, I mean, so another way to say that is, am I being spiritual or am I turning it into an ism?
I like that, yeah.
So, there's nothing wrong with religion, but just a contrast, right? I think all great religions have a tremendous spiritual base, right? But just for contrast's sake, the ism, or if I want to say spiritual and religious, the religious part of me needs to understand the theory of it, but being spiritual is living it, right? And so that's the distinction for me and navigating where we're at now. Like, is all this cleansing that I'm doing, is working with my spiritual helpers, knowing my 4 gifts, etc., how is that helping me in traffic? How is that helping me go to the grocery store and where everybody's wearing the mask because they're afraid, and this one requires it and this one doesn't? Am I still working with my energy? Am I still working with that directed goals? To me, that's the making it a way of life. Right now, it sounds kind of straightforward. This is what you learn in business school, like, oh, what's your goals? But it's coming from the inside out, right? It's that inside out feeling. Otherwise, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't matter how good I am. It's going to penetrate, right? So I kind of liken it like this. Each person is a sun of their solar system, right? And that's kind of that like attracts like business, right? That we're gonna, the law of attraction, or I prefer the word spiritual gravity myself. But the point is I'm a sun within my solar system. You're a sun within your solar system, and these can coexist, right? But if I'm not being myself, I'm being that bright shining self, right? No matter what the environment is telling me, like, oh, you gotta lock down. I'm like, okay, great, right? But if I'm not still doing, somehow being myself, finding a way, if I have to go exercise, I'll go do something on the floor, but something where I can call up somebody and chat and fellowship, something where I have that beingness coming out, then what happens is, as that light diminishes in me, then the other lights start pushing in. The other energy starts pushing in. If I'm brighter, then it's like it puts that buffer out. So for me, one of the huge keys is to buffer myself from while everybody's going through their changes and challenges, is I need to find ways to continue to express myself. Find ways to keep outflowing and enjoying, right? Even if it means, okay, I've got to change my habits because what I'm doing isn't working. And that's the big block that everybody's hitting, in my opinion, is because they're not changing their habits and they're getting all depressed. Well, then change your habits so you don't get depressed in this situation. Right? There's nothing I'm going to do to go out there and tell the cop, the police officer, constable, hey, listen, I want to go do this. Well, sorry, the rules are this. I will put you in prison. Right? Okay. So I can either get all my knickers in a twist about that, or I can go do what I need to do in a way that I can do it. Right? And that's the playing the game, right? I'll kind of wrap that part up by saying, right in the beginning of the Red Book, the Man in the Universe book, it talks about the word conform, right? And how I can rebel against that if I don't understand the root of what that's about. And conform is all about respect, right? So if I'm not respecting the fact that everybody's going through this thing, and I'm going to play big shot, well, I'm just going to get myself in trouble. So part of, for me, in navigating it is just conforming a bit, so for my own benefit. Mm-hmm. So perhaps that's the real thing to share on is, okay, how do we take this situation and make it to our benefit? Right? How am I making this to our? Am I taking the time, like you were bringing up your partner, Teresa, she's like great guns right now, going like, okay, I'm going to build things on my internet side, and like she's got it. She's got it. She's using this time in this situation for her benefit. And I mean that in a positive, I don't mean like a greedy thing. So I think that's another way for us to navigate it, is just how, not can I, how are we going to work this situation to better us?
Yes, and the word self-respect comes to me. It's
right.
How am I going to respect myself in my journey,
right.
and navigate through society, because I'm going to attract certain situations that are going to stimulate me.
Right.
But if I work with my guidance and change my concepts, change how I think about things, if I just put a little bit of effort, I've found it really works.
Right.
I mean, it's not a hard thing to do. I used to think it'd be a hard thing to do, say a positive affirmation.
Right.
And, but it's not. It's, boy, within a few times of saying it, within a day or two, it's amazing how I can change the energy, or in what I'm really saying when I say change the energy, just change that broken loop,
yes.
that experience that keeps coming up, or the thought patterns that keep, well, there's that broken record in my head again, but if I change the energy, I feel uplifted and empowered and like everything's going to be okay. Also, the fulfillment that comes is important to me. The fulfillment that comes from when I move through these situations that are somewhat challenging,
Yeah.
and I learn how to rise above them, because as you know, one of my mentors used to say that, you know, life is meant to be, it's really pretty simple. It's meant to be mostly pleasant and enjoyed. It's just how we think about it that starts to, you know, put pressure on us.
I'm keying off of what you're saying. One of the real problems I can run into, or when I'm sharing with people, I notice that they'll hit a block. And that's because they're not accepting and recognizing all the options available to them, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine you can do anything you want in this life as long as you're willing to pay the price. You can do anything you want, right? Now, there's things that are hit the edge of what I'm comfortable with, but just the process of recognizing I have all these options. Now, there's stuff that's going to work against me if I do it. You know, if I go out there and slap the cop, you know, they're going to come and get me, right? But my point of bringing it up is like, well, I could always move.
Yeah.
I could always move, right? But if I get locked, I'm not suggesting anybody move. I'm just saying, if I get locked into one way of thinking, I'm not going to be able to navigate anything. My rudder is stuck. And the wind comes and shifts me. Too bad, rudder's stuck. Right? And so me being able to work with my ideas, which is what I hear you saying, putting those positive affirmations out, it's like shifting the energy, rethinking the way I'm doing it. Like, it's not what I do, it's how I do it. It's not what I say, it's how I say it. So re-shifting my concepts and ideas in these situations, that can be uncomfortable because I'm used to doing it X, Y, and Z way. Mm-hmm. But if I'm willing to do that, now all of a sudden, my trash has just become my treasure. Right? Someone else's trash has just become my treasure. Right? And so that's remembering that I have options. I can do anything. The truth is, if you really want to go find out the facts, right? It's good intuitive, go find out the facts. I can travel anywhere if I'm willing to quarantine. I can go do anything if they give me the little the radar thing to check my temperature. The truth is, I can go do anything I want. So it's just because I'd be inconvenienced or I'd be uncomfortable, right? Now, I'm not suggesting everybody go run, go do that. I'm just making the perspective that I have plenty of options, I've got plenty of free will, and that settles me down to come back home. Right, I hear what you're saying, guidance, because I had all this inner chat going on with myself and everything else, and I can't hear you. That settles me down to so I can start hearing my guidance again, get those insights. So my options, remembering I have options, is another key for navigating.
I think too that as I navigate, you know, and as I'm changing those thoughts, it's really important that I don't judge myself for having the same old thoughts. Oh, I got caught up in a fear, or oh, I got caught up in, giving myself a hard time.
Right.
You know, if I'm gentle with myself,
right,
then it's easy to be gentle with others. And that's where I think a lot of the, the fears that we see in the outer, that we see the havoc and the turmoil, right, is really because people have a lack of confidence.
That's it. No
and
balance.
As I tune into how powerful I really am, and the only way I can do that is get into my true feelings rather than my emotions. Emotions are like feelings I've been taught to feel.
Right.
Now, I find myself in my emotions occasionally, and I have little practices like cleansing or just taking a break, going for a walk, or going
right,
get the mail, or I like to go for a jog, play my drum set, something that gets me in my feelings again,
right,
so I can get past it. And to me, that's navigating practically. I mean, there's always going to be challenges, and there's always going to be things coming up. And as long as I'm here, I'm going to be learning. I can be, I have the opportunity to learn about something.
Yeah.
But that really that, and as I get older, the youthfulness comes from being in more of my true feelings and not my emotions. Emotions are like feelings I've been taught to feel, as we say, or they're expressing what's going on.
That's right.
And I think when I say, give myself a break, I'm also saying let's give other people a break too. They're all having learning experiences. Some of them I don't prefer that they go through, but there's several billion souls on the planet. There are lots of different states of consciousness, and what seems obvious to me might not be obvious to the next guy. And I think that, if I work from the genius within me, if I look at the positive part within me and pat myself on the back, not in an egotistical sense, but just allowing myself to feel good about what I've put together and where I'm at and everything's okay right now and right here, then it's easy to move forward from the positive energy. And I think in society, particularly the society I grew up in, the game was to give you a hard time and shape you up and, a lot of judgment. So it's important to evaluate, is this habit working for me or not? But I think the key thing for me is if I'm judging myself and I'm judging others, it actually makes it harder to navigate.
Right.
If I work and I build from the positive part of me and the positive part of the people I'm working with, if I see that part, then it's easier to move forward. Teresa put out a podcast recently about looking at people as a soul, and it's a good one, in her Enthusiastically spiritual podcast. And it was a great reminder that, no matter who we're talking about, whether there's somebody that's big in the media or your next door neighbor or your brother or your sister, or your son or daughter, that's just a soul learning and growing. And, some of us, our energy is actually so powerful, the positive part of us is so powerful that we're like, you ever see those cartoons, where the big baby's walking around and he's destroying everything because he doesn't know his own strength, and it's one of those Looney Tune cartoons. There's also a Cirque du Soleil show with one of those. And I think that as souls are learning and growing, they probably wield a lot more energy than they realize, and that's what some of all this learning's about. But the good news, I'm a believer in that once I've learned something spiritually, really there's no going back. I mean, I might not practice it every day. I might not be in that mode every day, but once it's a part of me, it's a part of me.
Yeah. But, to the second area that I was going to talk about, and you're touching on it, is balance, right? And so part of that is just the simple thing we've talked about balance of thought and feeling, right? So the one thing I'll add to that, because you kind of covered that, that in other words, if I have that treating myself well, then it's a byproduct that I treat other people well, right? That's the byproduct, because why would I engage in treating everybody like crap and then treat myself really good, right? I'm either going to be all in or I'm not, right? And that's the problem with me being inconsistent, right? That's what the joke we talk about when you're growing up. If your parents were really good all the time, that's good. If your parents were really bad all the time, that's good. But if your parents were inconsistent, that's bad, right? Because you never knew. How could you ever stabilize? Because I'm going to have, as a kid, you're growing up, you're going to have your own purpose. This is what you're saying, Tom. It's like, I have my own thing, my own life. I came in, I'm a soul. I got my own destiny. So I'm navigating this parental thing. I'm navigating my life. And here we are in this lockdown situation. I'm navigating this situation, right? But if I'm not consistent, or I allow the inconsistencies of people out there to unbalance me, well, I've got no choice, So the thing I'll say about the balancing, because you already touched on it, is there really are only guidelines out there when it comes to balance. And that is just such a misnomer that, okay, a balanced life is if you come home and you kiss your husband and the kids, and then you go do a little thing, and then you go play, and then you go out the next day and you go to work, and that might be balance, and it might not be. Like if someone who goes and works 90% of the time and only has 10% rest, that might be their balance. In other words, they love it.
They love it, yeah.
They eat that up, right?
They're happy.
So they're happy and free, yeah. So to say this is balance for everybody, that's a spooky thing to say, So I can't keep relying. At some point I have to be mature enough to say, okay, I have the guidelines out there, but what's really balanced to me? What makes me enjoy? And so now if I'm in this situation where we have to navigate all this world, like I'm a people person. So when I go out to the stores and stuff to get food and everybody's masked up and, keeping his stuff up, that's, I don't like that. Because I dig getting around people. I recharge around people, So it's, I have to rework inside to find a new balance for me. Because I can't change the suckers, I can only work with what I've got. So the good news is that when I am in balance and I'm relaxed, all of a sudden they realize they can trust me. They'll pull the mask down and talk to me, whatever, And it's like, great, hey, let's chat, So that there is no outer scorecard for balance. I really have to find it inside. And I think that's for me, that's a huge second point for navigating where we're at, is really coming back, what is balance to me? And I can't, my physical eyes will lie to me, and what I'm hearing may not be the truth. Right? So that's the challenge of it. I really need to come home first. What am I feeling? Like you said, the difference between my emotions and feelings. Right? My feelings just are facts. They just are. I feel hot. I feel cold. Right? I feel good. I don't feel good. I feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable. Those are feelings to me. Then my emotions are all, this stupid lockdown and back. Now that I'm starting to take it out make it a big thought, right? And that's why the plastic feelings of my intellect, right? So balance, I'd love to get your perspective on it, but for me, there is no outer measure. There's good guidelines, there's great guidelines. But I have to kind of say, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, a little bit of that could work for me. A little bit of that could work for me. Yeah, I'm not doing that. But I have to come back to that.
Well, what occurs to me is that if I'm in the store and someone's sphere is all stimulated, because that might have been the nicest person you would have normally met under other circumstances, and now because of the mask they're stimulated. And isn't that true about all of us at different times? Right. We're great people, we look good, we feel good, we're doing good, and then other times, my God, run away from that person, kind of a thing. And I think that what's helped me lately navigate through the times is I come back to this judgment. It's like, it's okay. It's okay they're having that experience, So as a spiritual person and as a spiritual leader, if someone's getting caught in freedom, they're getting caught. They're in we give people the freedom to have whatever experience they need to have.
Right.
That's the word that's coming through. It's
right.
Like that freedom to let them have that experience without judgment. Now, when it starts to cross my boundaries, when it's within, you're not respecting my space or my personal space, now we're going to have a problem.
Right.
And I need to hit that, and establish my boundaries. Some of the programs and the workshops and classes and courses that we've taken over the years, it's really struck me how, although we talk about spiritual things and, love and peace and that peace within, we're also trained and reawakened that it's important that I know how to establish my boundaries.
Right.
That I have that self-respect.
Right.
So self-respect for me is allowing other people to go through their drama without any judgment. Now, I can either take it on board and get sucked into it with them, or I can allow them to have it.
That's right.
And I guess for me, I know that's the most challenging thing is, particularly with my loved ones, you know, is how do I keep them, you know, I don't want them to go through these experiences. Every parent knows what it's like, you know, that your children are going to do things you you don't think are necessary because you've already gone through it yourself, you know. So, but it's important to know when to get involved and when not to get involved. And I think as well, the thing that, you know, really strikes me is just there's a lot of hype out there. And navigating the hype is, again, like you said, you know, just does this sound, if I'm working with my intuitive gift, does this sound true? I mean, what's the sound here? That's my sensitivity.
Right.
Do I need to get some facts? Does that feel right? Does it feel like I have all the facts? And then go get some facts and come back and then make a decision, you know, based on that idea of really feel, think, act. Feel, organize, act is almost a better way to say it.
I mean, just to key off what you're saying, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you all can go onto the TNT site and order this book, the Man of the Universe book, but I've done this for a long time. I've been involved in this for a while now, right? And I've immersed myself in it, and I do this for a living. But I have jokingly said to you and to other colleagues and so forth is that I think one day, maybe in another life, I'll get past the first chapter of that book. Right? I mean, it's just this thin little book, right?
Book.
It's this tiny little book. And I've read through it all a couple times, right? But this first chapter is your point. And in there, it particularly gets into the part where I have to accept people. Right? I need to accept people, and that's another key to navigating where we're at. Not only do I need to have the self-respect to accept myself, warts and all, I need to accept people, warts and all. And that's the joke I was bringing up. It's like, sometimes I'll get possessive of my ideas. It shouldn't be this. They shouldn't be doing that. Or why did that happen? That's the game that can get going, right? Instead of saying, no, I'm in charge of me. I'm going to treat myself well. And I can share with you, I can give you some guidance, but in the end, you're in charge of you. Right? And that's a whole nother level of acceptance, right? And that's what I'm getting from what you're saying. It's like being able to accept people going through their bad habits.
Yes.
Right? Like, and maybe I've already been there. Maybe I haven't been there. It's irrelevant. It's like, I can only work on me. That's all I got. Right? I mean, it's a full-time job, baby, working them here. But that's the thing that is so powerful is acceptance. If I'm not accepting myself, then I got no chance of accepting people as they are. And I have no way to navigate. Because if I'm not fully accept, hey, listen, this is me, warts and all, but what do I want to do? If I'm not in that level of acceptance, watch out, everybody, because I'm going to be not my best around you, right?
Well, I always get, you know, and what I come back to is that there's many levels of consciousness here. And in some areas, I've got a lot of mastery. In other areas, I'm still learning and growing. And what seems obvious to me may not be obvious to the other person. So lighten up, you know, lighten up on myself first, lighten up on each other, and we'll probably be able to tune into the positive solutions within our everyday lives. And from there, it moves on.
So I have one other thing I want to bring up, and just to kind of wrap it for me and put a little bow tie on it, and navigating all this, is you brought up about your gifts.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's really important, you know, because you all do the Gifts and Guidance profile, which
Yes.
is so huge and so powerful to be able to connect with your spiritual helpers and discern your gifts of perception. That is, I can't tell you how that changes life, right? It just, there's no sense in me going into a big diatribe about it, but it's powerful stuff. And I do want to say, is just to point at it for a little bit while we're here and people watching, is that we all have 4 spiritual gifts, and one of them is the gift of prophecy. And to me, that is a tremendous gift to pull upon right now and to navigate where we're at. To be able to, that part of me is the part that has that inner trust. I can just trust myself. I can trust the situation. It's the gregarious part of me, you know? And it's almost like, you know, I can dream it and it's already 50% done, right? That's that part of me. So one thing to help me navigate where I'm at is really tune into that prophetic part of me. And right, for those of us who share with people, inspire that in other people.
Yes.
Right? Inspire that prophetic part in other people. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with these spiritual gifts, check in with TNT Spiritual Works. They'll help you get the facts. But that's the part of me that just knows. May not know how you know, but you just know.
I know.
You know?
I know.
So that's the other part that I'll just say in wrapping up and navigating all this thing, is just how powerful it is to be that free person inside, to just be relaxed in all my situations, and to just know and trust in my decisions, trust that I'm working with Spirit and it's going to work out for me. And I can be of service. I can be a way shower. And that's powerful to my prophetic part.
Sounds great. Well, it's been great sharing with you on this spirit side chat on navigating life and from that spiritual perspective. And thank you all for listening. Please come to tntspiritworks.com to see how we may be able to be of service to you in the future. Thank you for letting us share.
See you soon, team.